Christinablackfeather here today, and I'm going to kind of get into making the vegetable patties. I have some stuff prepared ahead of time, and I'm just going to describe what I do. So yeah, just a second, I forgot to add a couple of things. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have 3 stray zucchini in my fridge, and I can't find them because there's a whole bunch of produce in there. First off, I was going to show you what these patties end up looking like. This one, today I'll be making ones with potato in them. This one is without potato, so it's a bit more dense. But you can see, you know, you've got the vegetable fibers in here. This is actually really, really good. This will be less calories than the one with potato flakes. And I made several of these, and they're fantastic. They keep very well in the freezer. They keep very well in the fridge. This recipe is going to yield about probably 12 of them. So anyway, first things first, if your hands are sensitive like mine, because I'm off the prednisone again, gloves are a must. These are fantastic. This is Max Oat. This is a nitrile glove. Has got oat inside of it to protect your hands. Really good, but they're like, this is like $24 for this box. So I have one box I take to work and one box that's in the kitchen. So anyway, you're going to need, the recipe calls for 1 medium carrot. This is a medium carrot. This will actually yield you a lot when you grind it, you know, take it on the grater and do it. I did 2. This recipe is super duper flexible. You can do whatever you want with it, basically. And I didn't use a food processor, just used one of these, set it in a bowl, and just grind up the vegetables. And it's super fast. You don't need to go and dirty a whole food processor and take it apart and do all of that stuff. This works fast enough for, unless you're making huge batches at once, which I don't. I don't have that much time. So you're supposed to have 2 to 3 medium zucchini. Your medium zucchini is going to be a little bit smaller than this cucumber. Of course, I'm not grating anything today. I got it all prepped, and I can't find the zucchini. So here's a cucumber. You won't be using this in the recipe. You can use this for other things. But yeah, they're going to be a little smaller than this baby here. So yeah, your medium carrots, I say 2 medium carrots. I also added portobello mushrooms to this, and I shredded those as well. And I used probably, if you buy an 8-ounce pack of mushrooms, I used half of it for this. And you want those really fine as well, because you want to be able to sweat out the juices of all the vegetables. So I prepped ahead of time so you don't have to watch me grinding stuff down. This is the zucchini, carrot, and the mushrooms. There is a half a teaspoon of salt in here. That's all you need. I did add 1 teaspoon of this mushroom seasoning that I got at Bangkok Deli in Minneapolis. And I really like that seasoning. The only problem is some people may have issues with monosodium glutamate. It is in there. I don't have a problem with it, so yeah, it's in there. So what we're going to do first, well, I'll show you the rest of what I'm going to add today. I got some chili powder. I'm going to add that in there. I'm going to add some tarragon. And that's going to be pretty much to taste. It's going to be like, for each of these, I think I add like a tablespoon of the chili powder. I add a tablespoon of the tarragon, half half a tablespoon of the basil leaves, half of the tablespoon of the thyme. Don't know what I did with my rosemary. Yes, I'm prepared. Woohoo! I guess I'm not adding rosemary to this one. Okay, well, I put my fresh rosemary somewhere. The salt I use is for the flavor. I use the pink salt, the actual real Himalayan salt. I don't use the stuff that's been dyed pink. I want the flavor of this. It's not as heavy as table salt is or as kosher salt is. I use a can of no salt black beans. You can substitute any beans in here. I do recommend no sodium. Or you can, you know, go and soak your beans and cook them and all that and do it on your own. But these have a really good flavor, and instead of having to measure things out, I just grab a can, throw it in here. Okay, and the things I add, the original recipe I had found had called for almond flour. I use chickpea flour. It actually doesn't have the nutty flavor that the almond flour is going to give you. This is high protein, high fiber. And I also mix that with teff flour, and the only reason I'm doing that in flour instead of the whole grain, which I also have, is because this doesn't keep as long because it's ground up. Teff is a very, very fine grain to begin with. But since this is ground up, it's not going to have as long of a shelf life because all the oils are exposed and everything, and there's more surface area exposed. So I want to use this up. That's the only reason I'm using it. It works very, very well. Teff is a very high protein grain, and it's used in Ethiopian and various African dishes, and I just find it works really well in this. Minced garlic, just because it's convenient. You can use minced onion. The other thing I use, I have dried vegetables that I have stored. I don't know the brand. What did I do with it? This is me today. I took stuff out and put it somewhere. 1 second. Airhead. It was right here the whole time. This is just a mixture of dried vegetables that I ordered off of Amazon. Some of your grocery stores can go and will sell small packs of this. I bought it in bulk off of Amazon. It was like 20 bucks or something like that. It was pretty cheap. There's carrots, dried peas, dried celery, dried onion in here. So that's why I'm not adding any onion to this mixture. You don't have to add these. I like to because it adds kind of a different texture to the patty. There's little chewier sections and it just gives a better mouth feel. Plus you get the extra flavor in there. And I think we are ready to go. So I am going to change the camera angle here, and I have a small kitchen, so things are a bit of a mess, and I apologize ahead of time. As you can see by my kitchen storage in the background. So 1 moment. Okay, I forgot to add that I'll be using a 1/4 cup of olive oil as well. You want a really good flavored olive oil. It's not involved in the cooking process as much as it is in just prepping the patties. And it makes a really big difference. Okay, so now I normally have a better colander than this one, or just a real more fine colander for draining. I've got this one. I'm just going to kind of use it to filter the water here that comes out of the vegetables. Now, since I had prepped the veggies ahead of time, I infused them with the salt. These have been in the fridge overnight, so they're going to have a lot more water drained out of them than you would normally get. Normally, you'd let it sit for like 15 or 20 minutes while you prep other things, and then start squeezing the water out. So today we're going to get a lot of the water out. And I save that water because there's not a lot of salt in it, but there's a lot of vegetable matter in it. It is really great as a base for soups. And I just squeeze it between my hands just to get the rest of it out. I have even drunk this as a juice, admittedly, because it tastes really good. Oh, really, all you've got is the juice from mushrooms and carrots and zucchini in here. Now, I have a request to, you want this pretty dry, as you can see. I have a request to make these patties with a different vegetable other than zucchini. I think it's Celestial Rogue, who said that she's allergic to a lot of vining vegetables. So I'm thinking you'd be able to substitute for the 2 to 3 zucchini, probably a large head of broccoli mixed with, say, a quarter of a head of cauliflower, and maybe adjust the proportions a bit. I'm going to try that next and see how that holds up and how that tastes. Considering you're adding herbs and stuff to it, it should have a really good flavor to it using broccoli and cauliflower. But I want to test that out before I tell anybody to actually do that. So I'm working on that one, Celestial. It takes a little bit. You get a lot of liquid out of this stuff. Zucchini's a very, very wet vegetable. And I actually had used giant zucchini to grate this because we went to the farmer's market and I had some that were just absolutely humongous. And what I didn't use for the patties, I ended up cutting up and freezing. Last little bit here. Trying to get every little last bit of vegetable out of the bowl. You can see there's a lot of that juice. I took the juice last time and added it to a beef roast in the crock pot. It was really good. Just fantastic, you guys. Okay. Done with the gloves. And the only reason I'm using the gloves is because of the salt. My hands are pretty shot again now that I'm off of the prednisone. So I just wanted to make sure that I could protect my skin a bit. It hurts. Okay, and you can't see the juice here. Actually, do I have one more measuring cup? Yeah, and I don't want to waste it. It's kind of a brown juice in there. You get a good yield. This is a big pot. You get a good yield out of it. And instead of, and I forgot to open the can of beans. How about that? Not worth a hill of beans, I swear. So we'll run that with my good can opener really quick. All right. I drained the juice from the beans in here too, because again, it's still very drinkable as a vegetable juice, and it's definitely really good as a stock. I already have a blender bottle full of this stuff in the fridge. This will be my second one. The other vegetable patties I did with red kidney beans that had no salt, and those were, like I said, that was really good. The bean you use is going to give you a different flavor. Okay, so we'll set that over there. So, oh boy, I'm just brain dead, I swear. I have to go mow lawn yet and then go to work. Oh dear. What have I got to open this kashlinka? No, YouTube, I did not swear. That means contraption. Spattered myself in the face with bean juice. Okay. Sorry I bumped the camera. So add that to your vegetables as well. Now they're just going to sit in here. We're going to prep the dry and we'll go from there. As I said, it's not an exact recipe. This is because I'm just fudging things as I go, because I've made these a few times and I know what I like to use and I've got the measurements in my head. When I get this uploaded, I'll write down everything in the description. So, I'm going to mix our dry next. So I'm going to take, I like a little stronger garlic, so I'm going to take a tablespoon of the minced garlic. I forgot to add, in the other vegetable patties, I used dried cranberries. I'm going to use them again. You can use dried blueberries too, would give you a really interesting flavor. How much of this do I want to use? I want these to have a little stronger kick, so I think I'm going to use, let's see. Let's do 2 teaspoons of the chili powder. Again, you can adjust the flavors as you want. All right. 1 teaspoon of thyme. Maybe a little bit more. Going to use 1 teaspoon of tarragon. You said I normally add rosemary. I don't know what I did with it. How about that? You could do more Italian flavors by using, oregano and you could throw sun-dried tomatoes in here. No mowing thunderstorms. Well, I'm not mowing today. How about that? Okay, so we're going to do also a teaspoon of basil. I also forgot to add that I add pepper in here. I prefer the fully ground pepper for this. What jumped out at me? Ground white pepper. No, I use this for cream sauces. So, no, even though it wanted to be used, I'm not doing it. It can get over itself. Yes. It'll be used another time. It doesn't have to feel so sad and put out. I found my rosemary. Look at that. So we'll add a teaspoon of rosemary in here. These are little leaves, so kind of hard to get out of the shaker. Maybe a little more. You can do a more spicy one using fennel in here, would give it more of almost licorice type flavor, but I haven't experimented with that, so yeah. All right, teaspoon of pepper. And I use the fine because it actually will incorporate better into the whole mixture. Yeah, I already added those, so that's out of the way. Get those out of the way. Okay. Trying to find space in a small kitchen. Okay, so I already added salt to that mixture. However, I do want to have a bit more of a mushroomy, more beefy flavor. So I am going to add this mushroom seasoning. Another thing you could try to do is like miso in here would be interesting. But that would be a lot saltier. Okay, so what I had come up with is to do 3/4 of a cup of the chickpea flour. Actually, you're supposed to do about 1/2 cup, and then one of the grated vegetables you're supposed to have in here, you're supposed to use, the original recipe said to use a whole potato and grind it up, or 2 to 3 potatoes. I'm using potato flakes, so they're going to become part of my dry mixture instead. So, again, these are just rough measurements. So this is 1/4 a cup measuring scoop. So I'm going to do 3 of those of the chickpea flour. Now the chickpea flour, I can't even, I normally buy Bob's Red Mill, but I couldn't find it this time. So I got a certified organics one, veggie organics, sweet taste of purity. It's actually from a product of India, so it is directly from India. And it actually tastes pretty good, so we'll say this is multicultural between the black beans. You could, if you don't want to use beans, you could substitute lentils. I try not to use lentils very often because they're a very sensitive plant, and a lot of people in India, lentils are the staple of their diet. And unfortunately, with all the droughts from the global warming and everything that we've been getting in various parts of the world, lentil crops have been having problems, especially non-GMO ones, which that, you know, people really like that idea of non-GMO, but the GMO crops are the ones that are making it over there. And I don't want to take food from somebody else. So I try to avoid lentils, although they are a really, really good protein. But if you're trying to lessen your impact globally a little, you know, as much as you can, you know, that's one of the things that I try to avoid. So that was 1/4 cup of teff. And now I am going to add, I'm going to add about 1/2 cup, I think, of the potato flakes. I don't want too many. And one of the small patties, this one here is going to be, the broken patty that I showed at the beginning, is going to be about 110 calories. And they don't mess with your blood sugar because you're not adding a whole lot to screw up your blood sugar. Potato flakes add a little bit more calories, but you see I didn't add a lot of potato flakes in there, so it shouldn't be much more than that. If you make really large patties, my Fitness Pal, when I put this recipe in, I accidentally misjudged the patty in the serving size and how many servings per batch that I had mixed, and so it went and said that they were 230 per patty, which would have been really big patties by the time I was done. I'm like, no, I could never eat that. I did forget to add these to the wet veggie mixture. And last time I didn't add enough, so instead of 1 handful, I'm going to add 2. I found out I like the sweeter flavor. So there's my 2 handfuls. It's probably about 1 cup of cranberries in there. I just like how it tastes. And then the other thing I forgot to add, of course, is the dried vegetables to the dried mixture. And I'm going to throw about 3/4 cup in there. That should do it. going to have to watch my video and go through it, my own measurements and figure out what I did. That's just wrong. That's okay. I need to be watching this and make sure it goes through anyway, right? Okay, so we got that. Got all that stuff out of the way. Let's move the stray cucumber. Alright, so I didn't need to add salt because there is some salt in here and there's salt in the mushroom stuff. Okay. So we're going to transfer things to the bigger bowl. Now the beans are still, despite the fact that I dehydrated the vegetables pretty much, the beans are still going to have some moisture, and that's what you're going to have to hang everything together. So then you just start working it together. And I do this every time I forget to get my stove going. You're going to set this for 400 degrees and let that preheat. If this is too wet, just add a little more flour. Oh, for Pete's sake. I forgot one more thing, guys. So let's get this off my hands. You need about a 1/4 cup of flax in here, which we'll incorporate in here just fine. Use ground flax. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm a professional YouTuber. 1 second, I'll get the ground flax. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I have a 30 milliliter measuring cup in here. Just add a couple cups in there. Actually, because of the potato flakes, I'll add 3. I buy ground flax and it keeps in the freezer very well. I buy big bags of it and then I just use it as needed. And then you keep it in the fridge again for the freshness so that it doesn't go rancid on you because it is ground up. Whole grains always keep better in your pantry than, not whole grains, than the ground ones. You can have some whole grain like corn and stuff that, you know, once you heat can it in the oven, can keep for, you know, probably up to 100 years, where if you have the cornmeal and you heat can that, will keep about 25 years. So if you have a ground one and you have the room for it in your freezer, you know, you can put it in there and it'll keep just fine if you're using it regularly. 'Cause then it's a matter of convenience. If you're buying it in bulk just to have it in your pantry for hard times, then you probably want to heat can it. And I think, if I remember correctly, at some point my husband was going to do some more heat canning, and when we do that, we'll get into a video about that as well. This is going to form, with the flax in there, forms a really nice dough. I should have mixed the flax up with the dry, had I remembered to add it at that point. I twist my hand too. I don't have the hand strength to do a lot of kneading like most people do. Just want to get this incorporated really, really well. I saw there were some areas of the dry I didn't add, so those are going in. Flax too is going to add your omegas in there and add some more fiber and add some more protein in there and some more minerals. So it's not a bad thing to add. If you don't want to use flax, you can substitute an egg in here for a binder if you're wanting to do these as vegetarian instead of vegan. And no, I'm not vegan, but this is one of the vegan recipes I like. So, you know, we need to get this, kind of get this out of our heads to restrict our diets to such an extent that everything has to go by its labels. Restrictive diets are not necessarily the best thing. You can lose weight on any diet, so anybody who's sitting there and telling you that one diet is healthier than the other, as far as, well, vegan is healthier, carnivore is healthier, all of this. If you're restricting your calorie intake on these diets, that's the effect you're getting. And so you generally want to eat as healthy as possible, which I try to keep the processed stuff out as much as possible. And that's where I go. And I don't eat a lot of meat throughout the week. We've decided we're doing the Taco Tuesday thing, and that's going to be the nights that I have all the naughty stuff. I have the Doritos, I have the beef. I used McCormick simple taco seasoning, and it was like only 6 ingredients in it, and it tasted so good. And I used really lean ground beef in there. It tasted fantastic. It was so wonderful. And the whole thing, it just was a nice, pleasant meal that night. So that's my one night a week, is to have the meat on that night. I will eat fish throughout the week, like I'll have a can of sardines or something like that. But lessens the impact on the planet, and it's also my cholesterol and my blood sugar labs and everything have been a lot better since these dietary changes, and I've gotten back on the track of losing weight again, so it's made a big difference. All right, now some people will take that measuring scoop and or half a cup one and go and, you know, rub the olive oil into that scoop and do it. Nah, I'm lazy. I just rub the olive oil into my hands. Good for your hands too. Just take out a little clump, start making patties out of it. I suppose if you really, really want to be super tight on the calorie control, then you take the measuring scoop and do that. But look at how nicely this hangs together. I forgot to add that if you question your own seasonings and stuff, this doesn't have any raw meat in it. You can just grab it and take a taste. You're going to get a taste of some of the flour, but you guys, with a cranberry in here, best addition. Awesome. I just spilled olive oil all over my cutting board. Good job. Every 2 patties, I re-olive oil my hands. This 1/4 cup is going to last you. Oh, I got a taste of some of that chili powder and pepper in there too. So it's a little kick and a little sweet. This is good stuff. These are really, really good with bread and with, you know, you can add, like, for these with the chili, I'd probably add a little bit of salsa and, you know, some tomato and lettuce. Let's do that. There we go. A little better. Instead of dousing it all over my cutting board. So if you're nutritarian, of course, this is not an oil-free recipe, but you kind of have to have the oil in there to be able to not have this stick like glue to your fingers. because of the flax in there, it is going to glue up. Part of the reason I didn't go with almond flour in this initially when I copied this other recipe was, in part I wanted to use up the chickpea flour that I had, and I also, almond flour can be really expensive. Chickpea flour is a bit cheaper, and you get the benefits of all those nuts in there. Now, another thing you could do with this is, if you do cranberries in here, you could do a poultry seasoning instead of the mushroom seasoning. You could add nuts into this. Like, you could add pecans in this, would be really interesting. And if you did with a poultry seasoning, you could basically mimic the taste of Thanksgiving with this. Would be phenomenal. So this time, again like last time, this recipe with the modifications made 10 patties. So there we go. I'm going to separate them out a little bit. We're going to reserve the rest of the olive oil. Wash my hands one more time. That flax gets like right in your nails there and doesn't go anywhere. It's pretty pretty insistent. Let's put that away. Oil, hot stove. Okay, so I'm going to pop these in the oven for 25 minutes on one side. Then I will come back with the camera, show you what I do when I flip them, and then they'll go for another 15. But right now, we're going to do the 25 minutes. Get these going in here. They're on parchment paper. You're supposed to use waxed paper, but I didn't have any. Parchment paper works just fine. You don't want them to stick to the pan. So there you go, guys. We'll see you back in 25 minutes. Okay, we are back. Just going to get... Wow. My brains, I swear. Timer off. What did I do with my spatula now? You see, guys, this is how organized my brain is. It just isn't. Okay, so that's after 25 minutes. Just gonna grab something to flip them over. Don't know what I did with the big black spatula, but that's okay. ASMR you didn't want, right? And you see they brown really nice on the bottom where they have touched the pan. Oh, this smells so good, you guys. My highly requested veggie patty video. Oh, but yeah, I can smell the cranberry in there. This is so amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna pop them in the oven. Gonna go another 15 minutes. So there you go, guys. Okay, and last round here, and I misplaced the darn hot pad again. And I just found my other spatula. I swear, some days. Okay, so here we go, and they're sliding along this parchment paper. Let's shut the oven off. Okay. So, last step in this process is just to take the rest of that olive oil and just kind of drizzle it over these patties. They're nice and firm. Some of them are a little crispier than others. To reheat them, you can reheat them in a pan if you want, or I just microwave them. Sometimes I just eat them cold because I'm lazy. Yeah, again, this is why you want a really good olive oil, because the flavor of this is going to get into these patties, and it just really adds something nice. If you do a more Asian style patty, you could do a small drizzle of sesame oil, because sesame is really strong. But again, the seasonings are so super flexible. You can pretty much do what you want with these things. Doesn't matter. Thought I'd show you how much liquid I got off of the vegetables. And this is also the juice from the can of the black beans. Again, that was no salt. So there's very, very little salt in here. And the flavor of this is really good. So again, beef roasts especially, this is phenomenal. I haven't tried it with lamb. But there you go. And yeah, they're still hot, but this is really good. It just breaks apart almost crispy. Got that taste of cranberry in there. This is really good. And it lends itself to any kind of seasoning over top that you want, to just make it a veggie patty sandwich. This one, I probably, with this combination of flavors, I'll probably do lettuce and tomato, a little bit of mustard, a little bit of lemon juice, and maybe some sliced onions with it. And yeah, that would be really good. Maybe if you wanted to do some vegan mayonnaise, Vegenaise actually tastes really good. That's a decent one. Some of them are terrible, but that one tastes pretty good. Or if you're doing vegetarian, do a homemade mayonnaise with it. Would be really good too. So that's it, you guys. I'm just gonna put these in the freezer. Next big batch of zucchini I get from the farmer's market, I'm gonna make a whole bunch more just to have in the freezer, because this is cheap to just pull out. I just individually baggie these and pull them out and use them for whatever meal I want to have that day. So there you go. And yes, 3 creeper moon on my shirt today. And yeah, we just had to have a little bit of fun. So thank you for popping in, guys, and I hope you have a good day. Blessed be everybody. Hey guys, I forgot to add that in the recipe should have called for a half a cup of chopped cilantro or parsley. I didn't do that in this batch, but they came out really good anyway. But you can add fresh herbs to taste as you want. The original recipe I have done with both chopped cilantro and parsley, a half a cup in the bowl that I had mixed, worked just fine. Otherwise, the dried herbs work okay to taste. So that's what I needed to add, and I hope you guys have a fantastic night and just enjoy sleeping for me, because I'll be at work all night. Blessed be everyone.